everybody, and welcome to another discussion with The Lifting. I'm Joanna Michaels. This is Christopher Stephen Jacobs. Today is November 5th, 2022, and it happens to be 9:35 in the morning, which Chris will probably tell you why that even is important during this conversation. So today, and November 5th, which he'll tell you as well. So the interesting thing about today's conversation that we are going to have, we are going to talk about the word. You may or may not know what it means. It's actually called entropy. So entropy and how it is affecting us in our spiritual growth journey, as well as they say, the personal, so below and then so above, how is entropy being used in general to provide experiences within your personal. So you have the internal entropy issue, you have an external entropy issue that's really starting to show itself right now. So we would love to be able to have this discussion with you today for, again, more things for you to think about and more things, again, for you to decide what you do and you don't want in a world that you are living in, and how do you go about providing new co-creative skills now that you're aware. Because again, knowledge is power, but you must put that knowledge into action. And yes, you can co-create and do things to either agree or disagree and to make changes within the world how you want it to be. So we want to have this discussion today. Thank you for everyone who's been following us for all these years. Again, we started this conversation publicly in January of 2017. We really do, appreciate all of the support. We hope you find these conversations interesting. And today's especially because there's so much now going on with current events and, what is happening to everyone internally, that all of these thought processes, need to be kind of teased out and give you something, or at least from our perspective, of things that you should think about. So when we get down to the opening that we normally do, an opening and closing, I am going to do the opening today. Well, that's what I mean, the affirmation and blessing, and then we will discuss why we chose this particular one. So again, first of all, blessings to everyone that is here now and in the future. We are all one. When one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. I pray for you, your friends, your family, and loved ones, to let the healing energies in. Let them love you and nourish you and bring you to your highest good. I pray for myself, for Chris, for our friends, for our families, to let these healing energies in. Let them love you and nourish you and bring you to your highest good. I call in now all soul family and benevolent entities to please make themselves be known. Those entities with no conflicting agenda, who just want to support and to be there. I ask them to please wash away and escort out those negative entities or negative energies that wish to not want these types of conversations out, so that we can have them freely, openly, and that when we call in for people to participate in the conversation, that there is no blockages to allow benevolence to also make itself be known. So with that, I wish everyone peace. I hope you all agree. I hope you can feel the intention of the blessings and healings that we are sending you right now, and the requests that we've made for benevolence to enter. And again, silently on your own, with your agreement that this is what you want, to silently say or out loud, so be it.
Yes, so it is. The reason for such an elaborate affirmation and blessing is the topic that we have chosen for today. Before I say what we were doing that against to bring in benevolence, we'll just go into the topic itself. And then I will go into what was going on and what the 935 thing meant. Ooh, okay. The topic today is basically on the concept of entropy, and I will bring up the definition to start off. Okay. It is. Okay. This is, go for the number 2 right here. The lack of order or predictability, gradual decline into disorder. And the reason that that we are bringing this particular topic up is what people are seeing before their eyes even now. The decline in society, the breakdown, and not only some of the psychological things that are going on, but the actual physical things that are going on globally. People always think these things are happening to just them and them as an individual. It's basically a divide and conquer technique brought to you by your local cabal. Though the way this is happening, and I noticed this the other day in a session, I cannot and will not mention the person's name or businesses associated with this, but I will speak in a generality. This was actually something that I knew about personally, but I saw some more of the intricacies surrounding the entropy within not only the private sector, but within family lives as well. And people already know the divide and conquer in the family lives where these forces get you to fight, they lose the energy. People know about that. We've spoken about that ad nauseum. This other section of it, you may have also heard. And I'll explain where it was prophesied after I explain this concept, what I saw personally. This person has a business that has something very valuable to society and could literally turn the tides in stopping this entropic process, or at least altered in millimeters and centimeters. Even a tiny footprint or fingerprint can alter it in ways that you can't even imagine, like building a house. If you're off by a millimeter, that in one area, and in multiple areas, that can turn into centimeters, feet, yards, and your whole house is screwed up by that point. Think of that as the New World Order. Now, the screwed up house. Now, this person has had one pitfall after another, what I call the series of unfortunate events. From one investor not being on time, to a group of them, to people that promise things, and then they in turn get screwed by somebody. Therefore, they do the screwing after that. What I'm trying to say is it's like almost like a giant octopus that has compartmentalized tentacles and suction cups on it, where each part of the tentacle, think of those as businesses or groups of businesses that then are connected to the bigger brain. If one bit of a tentacle goes out of order the way that octopus wants it, that means they have to that being has to smooth it out. This is mixed with darker telepathy, New World Order, and artificial intelligence influences that can be very predictive as to how people are going to act in association with these things happening to them. This beast, let's just put it, and this does go with the biblical prophecy of the mark of the beast, or the beast of many eyes. That has to do with artificial intelligence, barcodes. This is where people were basically saying yes to the beast in Revelation, and they were basically giving consent to have this entropic process taking place. It is the not consent in this, and you've heard me say pooping some of the consent thing because of overage, but in this, people must not consent to the decay in society. The businesses, then, think about it this way. Say you have a business that is fueled by investors. Say those investors are taking their marching orders from another compartmentalized group who are also taking their marching orders from another compartmentalized group. Say these guys tell these people no, who tell these people no, who tell these people no. What happens to all the rungs underneath? Implosion. This is what you're seeing with some of these small businesses. This is what you saw during 2020. where then when they made all these businesses shut down, they even made police arrest anybody that tried to reopen them. They were counting on all of these failing as part of this entropy process so that they could basically take these ashes of society and remold them how they wanted in the New World Order fashion. That's part of the business, as well as also think about this on the other end of the spectrum where a lot of people were rendered homeless. They knew there was a compartmentalized part of society that would not care about these people. What happens to those people? Either reptilian food or they just kind of drift away and nobody cares about them. All of a sudden, the lowest class in society is gone. And other people that lost those businesses that became part of that are also gone. The cabal and New World Order see these people as useless eaters. And also the breakdown of religion. And also politics. You heard what I've said before about the two presidential candidates. These names get flagged. I'm not going to say them. Being the epitome of order, chaos, comedy, tragedy in the theater of puppets. Getting people divided in separate ideals of politics, fighting, and that breaks that down even more. Think of it this way. You have the current boogeyman is the Democratic Party, which justifiably. You have the current hero of the day, that would be the Republican Party. Rewind back 20 years or so. The red side was the boogeyman from where I was from in Nebraska. They pendulum swing back and forth and back and forth, shaking up society, whittling down this even more, trying to cause not only a civil war between the two sides, which they tried to enter that into not only my own channelings back in the day, but into society itself. Oh, there's going to be another civil war over this. They were trying to do that for January 6th. It didn't work. They were trying to basically the two cabal families that were fighting, both the red and the blue sides, the blue candidates. You know who I'm saying? T and B, we'll just say. One decided to speed up some aspects of the New World Order agenda. The rest of them did not like this, therefore, January 6th and Mar-a-Lago. You see how that collapse took place? With this, some things were sped up, so now they are speeding up some of this to adapt. They're speeding up this entropic process by then pulling back investors in certain banks. They're making people afraid that they're going to lose their money, even on the private level. They're making people think they're going to lose their home. They're raising prices of everything to cause this inflation. That's part of this. And they're trying to get everything to collapse. This is something they're also trying to cause the most fear possible in this, not only for the looshing, as people know, on that side of it. This other side of it is because they want to remold the world in a new world order. This also goes with Galactic Federation politics, as we've said in previous episodes on the intricacies of galactic politics. It is the as above, so below reshaping of the entire planet Earth into a one world leadership or one emperorship that the New World Order Galactic Federation as a fascist organization would allow Earth into their organization. We do not want this. Saying this alters it. Co-creating alters this premise. The reason, also now, I'm going to go into the reasoning why we started off with the law of one, which we probably should get into the greater habit of doing that, just as a standard. I would recommend that as a standard for opening any circle. Also, the number 935. You know, I don't give a whole lot of credence to some of the clock number things. I see that as artificial intelligence.
And it is at times.
It is at times, but this time this was slightly more legitimate. Back the people that were the beings that were trying to disrupt this being spoken about were a group of Ebens, or a couple of Ebens. That I don't bash all of them. I don't bash an entire group for the mishaps of other members of the group. That would be stupid. I'm not doing this. I just know by reputation what some of them are involved in the background. They were involved in the vaccines. They were involved like in Sandia, for instance. So I'm talking about even groups. They were involved in over the years helping some of these things being created over the years. This is why Project Warp Speed was not as fast as you thought it was. It was being planned over many years, and oh, we just made this. Nope, it was in not only parts of New Mexico but other underground domes as well, being stored for the day that they would use this. Um, and I'm basically saying now I'm putting it out there that we won't get flagged for what I just said. But this particular couple of events over the years, and you may have heard me mention them on Galactic Interstellar Council several years ago, if you look back that far. In Lincoln, Nebraska, where I was from since the age of 11. We lived on 935 Hartley Street. That was the 935 in the time when we were first starting the recording here. There were two aliens that showed up at one point. I sensed at the time a telepathic field in the area that was quite immense. And Lincoln is known for a set of underground bases there as well, and Omaha. Huge set of bases. You're going to find there's an entire map around the country, but there's larger clusters. You have, of course, Dulce, New Mexico. You have Colorado. You have the ones in Alaska. Everything is through rail systems. People know the DUMS layouts. But with this, my grandfather was involved in the Lincoln one, and he even helped close the surface base in Lincoln. And he said, "Oh yeah, they're locking it up now." He said, "No, they went underground." Primarily. And even the Lincoln Air Force Base right now, it's scarcely even seen on the surface. I sensed a telepathic signal, an alien signal coming from that general area or around where we lived. We lived in the Belmont area. If people want to drive through there, please do not harass the new owners of the house. I don't condone that. But if you want to drive through there and take a look at it, go ahead. To the new owners, if people start photographing it and doing stuff, I do apologize if people are doing that. I don't have any control over that. But when I felt this, I put out a signal saying, I am curious as to who this is. That usually comes with kind of a mixed bag of things that take place afterwards. If you're curious and you don't really say true benevolence, or you don't say that without any conflicting agendas like we do now. And this was more of a fork in a light socket moment on my part. And if people watched the other show that I was on not too long ago, and I was explaining the same thing, and Isaac was kind of throwing me under the bus in this same respect. That night, went to bed, and I came to find out what happened after it was not a dream. It was a memory. And it took me up into almost recent times to reconfigure it in my own mind. That's how strong some of the memory wiping was and some of the telepathic scrambling was. And again, I'm not bashing every member of the society. I'm not even bashing one of the beings that was in on this. But that night, it was the middle of the night, walked outside, and I'm not saying this as a dream anymore. I'm saying this as an actual event that took place. I just saw it in a dreamlike state then. More of a confused dreamlike state. Walked out the back porch where my room was there at the time in Lincoln, and walked out to the garage. Saw a couple or several beings I associated with Men in Black. You know, they had the black suits. They had the eye covering or the sunglasses. They very well could have been aliens as well. They could have, I feel they were more even security force types that had the larger eyes. I was just decoding them as having sunglasses on. My brain was decoding them wrong, I feel. Just like now, I could feel these same security forces. But they looked like the standard Men in Black or Blues Brothers type of look. And I walked up to them, and there was a man inside the center of the garage that had on black pants and a white shirt, like you expect, like a typical like Geek Squad or Geekoid, computer nerd type person, or somebody of that nature. or somebody that worked like at NASA or something like that, or at a base or something like that, and civilian type. And he just stopped in the center, kind of looked like he was facing one way, and he just kind of did this, and he goes, "What do you want?" And I just said I wanted to know more about his people. I knew he wasn't human, and he just stopped. He calmed down a bit, and he went, "All right," like that. And he told the security people to let me pass. Now that I know who these guys actually are, and they weren't Men in Black, they were exactly like some of the ones in the hills. Larger head, big black eyes, and security uniform on. Walked up to him, and I can't remember all the words that were said, but I said that I wanted to know more, and I wanted to see what he actually looked like. And he just kind of grinned and went, "All right." And he turned around, and he started this perception filter he had around him was starting to kind of melt away. And when that took place, I saw, being in a spacesuit, or like a hazmat suit, that he was blue, like sky blue color, and had yellow eyes. I could tell he had some reptilian in him. Some even groups have reptile, like Zeta reptile in him, along with some of the others that look like salamanders, but he looked like a blue salamander a little bit. And he, oh, somebody's trying to wipe some of this conversation. Okay, he was sky blue, and also he had larger nostrils, and you could tell he was reptilian, even. And what took place in this was I said, "See, I don't see you any different than myself," and he started to grin. And looking behind me, there was another one of them there. Yeah, I asked this one in front of me what his name was. He said Toofy. And I turn around, and there was this angrier one standing behind me. And where Toofy walks over to him, he retakes the other form. And I know it's like a perception filter or a hologram he was using. Walks over to this other one. This other one kind of does the equivalent of like the hell are you doing sort of thing, And he tells him to calm. The one tells him to calm down. Toofy tells him to calm down. I asked Toofy what this other one's name was. He said Trauben. That's my brother. Bad thing that took place moments after this. I said to Trauben, I said, "I realize you don't approve of me being here, but we can all, get along here. We can all, work together on this." And Trauben was not pleased with this assessment, and then he proceeded to try to wipe my memory, which he ended up doing. He's the one that scrambled my brain. And to make a long story short, I woke up the next morning, and I was thoroughly weirded out by it. Another incident. I'll only go one more thing. A couple small instances here with these guys that will go into what we have to say here. When we were at our apartment on Fletcher, woke up in the middle of the night and saw green light coming through the window. Saw a black car with what I saw green headlights sitting outside. Turned out later on it wasn't that. It was actually a small craft with a green light, and it was the two brothers doing things again. Fast forward to here during 2020, around in 2020. There were Zeta reptilians that were here that were more hunched over brown, more salamander-like with a hood, that wanted people to wear masks in official buildings because they couldn't be around human breath. And hence also why you saw the two brothers wearing hazmat type suits then. So they were wanting to insert, some of these groups are wanting to insert themselves. And they want humans to change their rules according to some of their own standards, because that's more in line with Galactic Federation doctrine. Oh, each planet has to have a certain set of conduct. No, humans have to form their own federation. Humans have not necessarily an Earth First type thing like that nastier Earth First group. I'm talking about uh, forming our own unity, and these beings can join in or they don't have to. Uh, and this is why this conversation, is happening at this stage. And this is also why Joanna was making a point to me. I was going to describe the whole thing with them, and that's what they're trying to do. Say, folks, they were trying to get me to go on and on.
I don't know if you could read it, it may be backward, but I wrote him a note saying they're affecting him now, and they are trying to drag out this story.
Just like they're doing in society, they're trying to drag out a narrative. This is actually a good point, because they're trying to drag out certain narratives so people get tired out by all the things that
so
are
my point to all this, just to let you know, is that so here they are showing up again, and Chris understands, and I understand they actually have some skills. They got some skills, and if they can block everyone else from coming in and they can stand there, they feel they may get the upper hand on having this conversation. And we don't want that. And so I think some of you that have followed Chris before, there are telepathic ways, beings and whatever that are very strong with what they can do. They can affect you. They can make you forget. They can make you go in circles with your conversation. Yep. They can make what they love to do with Chris sometimes is he'll give 20 examples of something. So trying to be short and succinct and just get the information out in a way that people aren't falling asleep with all of the, examples. They have those telepathic skills to interfere. And so, and they're doing it now. There is an attempt to do these things now. Basically to bore you guys with the details so that you won't listen to this conversation. So we're going to try and cut to the chase of this. Yes, I would suggest you do that. Yes, which I'm going to take over right now because, I can feel the pressure. So I can feel, I'm going to tell you, I can feel the pressure. For some reason, the good news for me and why, again, we work well together is we both seems to bring something to the table that helps for the conversations to move forward. And when there's such a pull on Chris, normally I can catch onto it and move something else forward to break some of this up from happening, and it is happening right now. Yeah, I can definitely feel it. Yeah. So what I actually, and they're doing their best to do this to me too. So what I really want to talk about right now, when we talk about the word entropy, is I want to bring it kind of full circle in understanding. So you think about entropy within your own spiritual thought process. What's real? What's not real? What's my belief system? Who am I? And literally we say the truth is the truth until a new truth comes along. And so that those foundational belief systems are having to be looked at, broken apart. And in that there's an entropic kind of process, even a mourning that may occur related to a belief system. And then there is the adaptation of something new. Again, hopefully within yourself, the goal is this is self-driven. This is not being driven to accept things in an artificial way. There is an attempt to put things through to everybody in a way that they will now take into themselves as new way of beings that are not necessarily what you believe, but a structure and a belief system based off of what I don't even like to say the word New World Order because I don't like to give it power, but we'll show you how it's been mentioned over and over and over again. I just say the agenda because I don't like to give that power. And one of the ways that they make you accept something is they say it over and over and over again. And we'll show you. Right. And we'll show you how this is beginning to occur right now. So it's being done on a multiple level. Right now in the United States, I'm just going to divert this one example. They are trying to attempt to spin, if you don't vote in a certain way, democracy ends. Well, how can democracy end when democracy is about a voting process, right? Where the majority of people, rule. So democracy, whether you make a bad choice or a good choice, doesn't end. but they're psychologically doing psychological warfare on you to maybe get you vote in a way that's not the way you would naturally want to vote, but a way in someone else's agenda. So understand, this is the psychological ways that they begin to do these things to people. You have to recognize when it's happening so you can think independently and not fall for some of these trickeries that are being employed out there. So that's one example. As far as entropy in society, it's easy to talk about what happened during the lockdowns. Okay, but I'm going to talk about right now and what you may be experiencing and seeing around you at work that is also a part of this entropic society kind of fall that's going on now, that actually you can't understand that it may be part of a bigger picture of an entropy going on, not just individual people being what you would consider now stupid. In general, when people work for an organization, they want the organization to be successful. They want longevity in a job or in a career where you put forth the best of yourself, where you're trying to do what you can to make things better, develop new ideas, do things in general for a very good reason in society. What a lot of people are experiencing right now is there is this weirdness going on where the thought of bringing forth new positive ideas to grow may be being stifled. So, and it doesn't make sense. Where why would you not listen to an idea that I'm trying to bring forth to make things better, to show more caring, to show this, to show that? But it's happening. People in a sense are being no, just go sit at your desk and do your job. And so that concept of the growth of basically of being able to bring forth these new ideas in a positive manner from not all places, but for a lot of places, it's like not being heard anymore. It's like, no, we're not kind of doing that. And so you're literally looking at a company going, this doesn't make sense. What's going on? If they continue this path, from my perspective, they're going to implode. Okay. And it's not going to make sense what's really going on. But you will be at conflict. You're not going to necessarily like what you see going on. Where has common sense gone? Okay. So all of this is part of that entropic process. So you need to pull yourself out and just look at what's going on, because it doesn't make sense. That is a state that they actually want you to be in. That chaos, as we told you within that definition, that's a part of causing an entropic process, putting things into that chaos mode. Now, I will say briefly that there will be plenty of people who believe in the agenda that's been decided, that this has to happen. In order for change to occur, you have to unfreeze people's thought processes. You go through a chaotic period, then you're going to refreeze it at a new one. So people, again, may accept things.
They accept it because they think the breakdown is supposed to happen, just like the concept of destruction before rebirth. That is a spiritual, true concept, but they are inverting it and basking.
They're correct, and they are. So that people are accepting things, and they put you in a state of fear, they put you in a state of chaos. So simple things, that you'll work longer hours, you'll be available longer, you're going to do anything you can to try and pull it all together, but then that becomes the norm. And that's not just a momentary expectation. So people are expected to be more in and I am going to use the word slave role, in a slave type of role, and accept what they can get, thank you for my bowl of porridge, right? With the again, inflation, what's going on, but they're going to introduce so much confusion, which they're doing it, even in terminology. Now you have an argument of, why are they using the word inflation? That was just a made up word here done lately. No, it's not. I went to class and learned about it a long time ago. They're changing definitions of what things mean.
They're trying to confuse you, divide and conquer confusion.
They put you in the state of chaos, a state of fear, a state of everything. And this is then how they're able to maneuver it. Then you're looking at your job at work on, why are you making these decisions? Now, again, some Some groups are very much involved in this. Some groups, again, will volunteer to allow companies to collapse, even if they had had financial backing in them at one point to allow for this new thing to occur. They're not going to have a problem with it because they're a part of the vision and of that agenda. So it will happen. It will not make sense to a regular person what is going on. There is, again, an attempt to cause more confusion, whereas this begins to happen, that so much conflict occurs, so much anger within that, and people wanting now to fight, okay, that down the road, part of this agenda is to cause skirmishes. It is to cause a revolutionary violence. It is to cause that because, again, that still keeps you unstable, that still keeps you in fear, and they have better equipment. So the goal is to destabilize and even allow for this to occur. But again, people must stand up for kind of what their rights are. But this is all their gamble of how it's going to be done because they feel their agenda is going to come up on top. And if people aren't aware of what's really going on about this, you must understand, you must have a different intention of how, and you must put that into action. I am not saying war because it can be done in a lot of other ways as well, but skirmishes may not be able to be avoided in some of this, but it is a part of the plan. So the question becomes, with this entropy, who's coming out on top of it when a restructuring occurs? Is it going to be them now and you've accepted into your heart and way? It's just like I say about the cold weather coming up. They've already told us it's happening. They're already telling you people are going to be cold. They're already preparing you that people are going to die. But again, they're going to talk about climate change and they're not going to talk about how to resolve it.
Yeah.
Because they now have you in acceptance that this is what's going to happen.
Just like with paranormal activity, they show you activity. They don't show you how to resolve that activity. This is why I always strive to do this. And I find this very interesting. There's also a song out there that described this a little bit. If you look up Disturbed Land of Confusion, they did this quite well further back in the day. And it is also synchronistically Guy Fawkes Day, 11/5, with the gunpowder plot against the Parliament, essentially trying to destroy the New World Order building at that time. I find that very interesting.
It is very interesting. So what I want to do right now is we're going to go and we're going to share screen right now because there is some importance when we talk about these are long-term plans going on. They are very long-term plans going on. And we've told you before, they're going to initiate their attempt to do these things. Nothing's stopping them, right? So a couple things I want to point out before we play this clip. First of all, this clip, if you can look up here, was done on 9/11/1990. So first of all, again, a speech in 1990 related to the agenda, okay? And then again, I find it amazing because they're also referencing it was done on 9/11. As everyone knows what happened, 11 years later. I do not feel that that was an accident. It probably was a little note to tell people things are, still.
Yeah, 11 years later, you see how they're using the 11/11. They also did this with Independence Day showing in 1996 what they were going to do on the actual 9/11 with the trade towers. That was the prelude to a fake alien invasion that did not quite pan out.
Now, I must say that this speech in its entirely a lot.
The entropic of that particular entropy of the fake alien invasion would have also rebooted society at that open point where they were trying to insert it, and that was co-created differently. I didn't mean to interrupt, but that's what people changed that because they did not want that. Right. Is what I'm trying to say.
No, perfect. So again, this is just in 1990, long time ago, folks. And I just want you to hear this clip. If this had to deal with, again, they were talking about the war, Saddam Hussein, everything going on in the Middle East. But then the topic started to begin to change about that. And I just want to play a little clip it because this may be the first time in my memory, it could have come up before this, that this first was told to the public. Okay.
A new partnership of nations has begun. And we stand today at a unique and extraordinary moment. The crisis in the Persian Gulf, as grave as it is, also offers a rare opportunity to move toward an historic period of cooperation. Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order, can emerge, a new era, freer from the threat of terror, stronger in the pursuit of justice, and more secure in the quest for peace. An era in which the nations of the world, East and West, North and South, can prosper and live in harmony. 100 generations have searched for this elusive path to peace, while 1,000 wars raged across the span of human endeavor. And today that new world is struggling to be born, a world quite different from the one we've known, a world where the rule of law supplants the rule of the jungle, a world in which nations recognize the shared responsibility for freedom and justice, a world where the strong respect the rights of the weak. This is the vision that I shared with President Gorbachev in Helsinki. He and other leaders from Europe, the Gulf, and around the world understand that how we manage this crisis today could shape the future for generations to come. The test we face is great, and so are the stakes. This is the first assault on the new world that we seek, the first test of our mettle. Had we not responded to this first provocation with clarity of purpose, if we do not continue to demonstrate our determination, it would be a signal to actual and potential despots around the world. America and the world must defend common vital interest, and we will.
Okay, so this was really again, the introduction of an era that was going to begin to work to bring this vision into play. Mm-hmm. And so it's very, very important, because the other share screen that I want to show everybody is how now what they started it then, everyone was like, and heard it a few times and was like, huh? But then now what I want you to see is how that concept of having a new world order is spoke about over and over and over again within different countries. People around the world are speaking about this. It is very important because, again, that agenda and those conversations, I didn't make it up. I'm not saying that this is what they're wanting to do. They're telling you what is going to be done and what they're working at.
Yeah, they have to say what they're doing before they said it. It's just like when Fauci got on and said during Trump's presidency that there would be a pandemic. And people said that was conspiracy theory. He said it right on live television. And people just went right over their head. What happened in 2020, we all know. The thing of it is, they wanted to test the boundaries. They wanted to see what people would accept. They wanted to see what people would fall for. Yes, there's a lot of mind control out there with some of the alien groups and the technology like 5G and the rest of it. But they wanted to see how far they could push it, how fast they could push that transformation. This is why you cannot allow it. They're testing the waters. It's a litmus test to see how far they can push it, how much you'll get enthralled with like the theater of puppets, how much within yourself you will try to accept within yourself, what you feel you can get used to, no matter how disgusting those thoughts go down the road. It's all inclusive. It's all one thing. You have to think of it as one thing. Different pieces that might be in different parts of the world. Look at Africa at the moment. It's going into entropy itself. It's complete chaos in certain areas. What would a Nazi regime want to do? They would want to unify everybody under one banner. Unity is not bad. That is not a bad concept. But this is the twisted antithesis of what you want. It's just like a scene from Man in the High Castle, where one of the Nazi leaders wanted to bomb everybody else and basically say we would have peace on Earth for the first time. If this was in their universe. And even the other Nazis were going, we got, even got to do this differently. But the thing of it is, they were showing how these people think. They wanted under their rule. And granted, could they have done this probably a while ago? Yeah, but they had to slow drip some of this stuff in so that you would be more comfortable with it, as well as abiding by Galactic Federation doctrine. So this is why people ask, well, couldn't they have done this immediately if that's what they were doing? They did. It was right in front of your own face. They even said it. They even said it to your face at times. Even other alien groups were telling the cabal they had to disclose things to the public because that's how their society was. Not these guys. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in general. They were trying to get me to point to them. I'm not saying they're that tolerant. I'm just saying that then the cabal can say, "Oh, we told them," but this was their Nazi-esque plan all along, was to tell you that way, knowing you would not notice all of these things.
And I have to tell you how good they are. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna mention really how good they are, because there's plenty of people who consider themselves spiritual, open to the aliens, open to the Galactic Federation, open to all of this stuff.
And through channeling communities too.
Right, who feel this is real, who are all for moving into a one world government to join a Galactic Federation. They think it's great. But I have to say, you need to give pause for thought, because what do you think that looks like for the average person? Or do you think that actually these federations care what's happening to the average person? What I have to tell you is that we're looking at, the potential of a planet that's being unified to join, but they do not interfere with what's going on in the planet. They just want one government to talk to. Do they have the standard of what your living is going to look like under this? Because right now, if you see what's really going on within society and everything, you're seeing housing units getting smaller, more people having to live together. You're seeing people, they're not building a ton of places with property anymore. So they're squishing people into places. They will downsize what's available to eat and drink. Now you've got people suggesting we just need to go to bugs. And I'm not joking. But for protein or whatever. And so, and how the world is being destroyed by us. And so, all of these basic things that have to be done to change the way and the structure of how you live. And some people, for some reason, have a misguided sense of what really the goals are. They are not going to bring the standard of living for third world countries up. They are going to take first worlds and bring it down. So you have to understand that even in that thought process, this is such a great idea. No, it's not, because you're living in a fantasy, I think, right now of what you think that looks like. Now, as far as co-creating, we should be looking forward of what is to be expected to be here. Now, it's great to be able to move into a society where maybe money isn't needed anymore. Fantastic, okay? That the resources are there, that people are working at jobs for the common good that they feel good about. That's fantastic. Of course, we want that. But wouldn't we also want to make sure that healthcare is there for everyone instead of what's going on now? Do we really want care for those that age? Because right now, that is a crisis right now, where people are at home with no people checking on them, with nothing going on. They're living in misery. Is that acceptable part of this, because you don't have what it needs now to go into a hospital or go into a nursing home? What do you want society to look at? Do you want to have a castaway? Do you want to have re-education camps, for people that aren't quite getting it right?
China even has all the tight living quarters and everything. They want everybody to be acceptable with all this. This is where some of the tiny home thing comes in. They want people to downsize. They want people living in freaking shelves, pretty much, and cabinets almost. Yeah, that's and
so
that's
you need to understand what does that really look like, and then what you have to really say is, what do I really want us to have? Because this concept is that there's too many of us to live on this earth. That actually isn't true, but you've been told that a lot.
That we are wasting resources. Is there too many people? No, they have ways around that.
They have plenty of ways if they would share the technology that they already know. And so, what you have to do, though, is not listen to any of that and focus on what do you want it to look like. And then, and basically say, if if there's no way out of their vision to join, then maybe we shouldn't be joining. Then maybe we need to make our own thing, because it is more important for us, for society to look like this. And what is wrong with having different representations of different people and cultures throughout the world? What's wrong with that? It doesn't happen on a lot of other places, but what's wrong with that? And so, you have to open yourself up that we like the different cultures. We like and respect people for who they are and their belief systems. We understand people grow at different rates, and no, we're not wiping undesirables off the face of the earth, which there is a population reduction going on right now. So you must think about these things and what you actually want to create, because before your eyes, entropy is occurring to change it into something that somebody else has decided as to what they feel it looks like.
Mhm.
And it really may not be in alignment with what your hopes and dreams are.
Yeah, then this is also another interesting point about this is also part of what people would consider the Guidestone timeline. Somebody was trying to say when that was destroyed, that timeline was dead and gone. At first, I thought maybe the cabal was trying to distract people and saying, "Oh no, that's gone." But no, that was actually changed right there when that took place. That was symbolic right there. In that chain of events that they were trying to make happen, again, extreme entropy of society, the actual culling down to 500 million, and they were going to fill the earth with all these other aliens that they promised land to. Some of these aliens,
That wasn't on the guideline.
that was no, but
that was not on the guideline. Just to let you know,
that was not on the Guidestones, but that was part of their overall plan. That did not work, and some of their, let's just say, investors have now come to collect on something that the ICC can't promise on. So they had to go to Plan B, Plan C, Plan D for this.
And it is true, like we were just saying. The point is that they're going to tell you in general what's going on. They're not telling you all the details. So that wasn't on the Guidestone, but that actually is a part of the bigger picture, going on. So they chose what they wanted to be said on there. So I think pretty much for the lifting, I think we've said everything that we want to say about this. I do not know if there is kind of a benevolence out there that wants to join in the conversation. I'm not a fan of bringing through something trying to corner us into a certain conversation. So
yeah, that I'm not a fan of, but I will see, because I noticed when you called in Soul Family, there was this major shift like this. Like, let's say if you had like a sphere and you could feel that shift or move. Isaac was also saying it's some of the Earth's shift agenda was also part of this, saying that people would be culled down by this massive pole shift type of thing. That is for a different conversation that we're going to get into with a friend of ours. He's just saying that applies to some of this New World Order agenda that's been infiltrated into the spiritual communities and New Age communities. Thank you. I forgot that one. Yeah. Okay. And so, Isaac, I'm guessing either you're going to be the guy, because these evens aren't letting up today. Sorry, Tufi, if your conversation was going to be of a benevolent nature. I don't trust your brother as far as I can throw him. So, man, I know the feeling's mutual, Trau, but you can back up. So, let's see. Isaac, is there somebody I'm not seeing here? Is there a member of Soul Family I'm not seeing here? Yeah, can you come in a little clearer, please? And you have to prove to me that you are not one of these guys. True benevolent spirit, I need you to help back them up, please. These security forces, at least about a dozen of them out here, and their telepathy is like a hammer, like this. And I've noticed, and I'm going to say one thing before I bring either Isaac or this other set people in. There have been some synchronicity out here. I've been watching this hawk grabbing like little animals and stuff outside as we've been talking. You don't think you noticed this?
no.
But there has been this hawk, it was grabbing like something behind this juniper that are out here, and it's been grabbing different different animals out here, little birds and stuff like that. There's been two of them. And for my mother and I, also on Hartley Street, we would see synchronicities of hawk. We associated it with the one I called the blonde-haired idiot for a while. You can look at that in the Princes of the Universe conversation. I'm not going to go into that. Just saying we would always associate the hawk with something benevolent trying to show us a sign. This was more of a predatory inversion of that symbol. Like either it was good trying to say they were getting rid of the predators, or it was the predators trying to say they had more of a hard grounded stance. Oh, spirit getting rid of the predatory. Okay, I just heard that they said good for knowing both sides of the conversation. Isaac is saying quit boring people with the semantics and the and both sides of the inversion and positive ends of the conversation. Okay, but all right. Nobody likes a technical geek when they're trying to learn something. Okay, all right. Let's see. I'll talk about Geek Squad. Okay, shut up, Isaac. Okay, let's see. Are you going to be the one, or is it who's the next to you? Yeah, you're going to be the one. Okay. All right. All right. So I know there's other members of Soul Family around. There's like this tug of war thing going on. I can feel the energy clearing quite immensely.
So you can feel the clash.
You can feel this. There's like horns locking. So Isaac is like this emissary here, apparently. So yeah, I gotta bring something. It's the energies are just shifting all over. Oh man, it is. That's nasty, guys. Okay. Quick.
Yeah, let's do this.
Okay. Isaac, you can come through the crystal. Yes, you know the procedure. You don't have to explain it 10,000 times. Everything that you have spoken about, even in its more, let's just say, inverted hourglass type conversation, as well as its opposing antitheses, as boring as that might seem, is actually quite valuable, putting things side by side. This is what they did not want. Even though I am not completely objecting to Tufi, his brother, yes, yeah, of course. Tufi also has his own agendas, and they have their own viewpoints as to what malevolence and benevolence truly look like. They do not always agree with human assessments of planting the flag and basically saying yours, mine, and all these other concepts that humans have. Even though there were aliens in the past that implemented certain concepts of yours and mine to cause division, it is now a mark of sovereignty, saying my sacred space, my sacred space, my heartfelt space, my own, you could say, agenda, or my own co-creation of what this world looks like. It doesn't always mean all humans all the time, like that retarded military group, but in this instance, you must plant your flag and say no to any of these agendas. You already did this with the COVID agenda. You already did this with the Guidestone agenda. Now do it again, and saying this form of forced entropy is not allowed. This is something that you must plant your flag on. Everyone listening to this must do this. I am not saying a violent revolt. I am saying a revolution of the soul, of the spirit of your world. This is something that must be done. You must see these things. This is a turning point. You would say a watershed event. All these groups are getting antsy because they are thinking that the Earth going into the Galactic Federation would be a wonderful thing. Oh, we would be able to interact with you. You can do it anyway. This is a duh at this point. You can do it anyway. The Galactic Federation, did they groom aspects of Earth, such as the Cabal, to be more like them? Absolutely. Now, are groups like Valiant Thor's group trying to slow drip some of the proper information in? Yes. You see these war of spirit wars, magical wars, informational wars, energetic wars, and war in general. This is essentially what the energies that they are feeling here now with these clashes of these different ideologies. And it's not just ideologies. Some of them are actually fist fighting, which some have broken down to this. But I will not babble any further. You can ask me anything you want.
So the one thing I never mind is I never mind in a sense of neutrality hearing what somebody else has to say if it can be done that way. The problem with today is that there was such a force of not allowing a neutral conversation where different thought processes could come in and speak. And that's the problem. And that's why there is a blocking of this other, because before all of this began, you know, we were talking basically and just saying, you're going to decide how this goes. If you are not going to allow this other end to have a neutral conversation, even if we feel uncomfortable and we choose to bring someone who can be neutral to speak for both sides, because we have a trust that we're in a safe place to do that with this individual, then you made the decision of how this moves forward, which they did, because they would not remove themselves. They would not bring back the block. So why would Chris or anyone want to channel somebody who's pushing forth only an agenda that they want, no matter how potentially benevolent they seem? And that is important for everyone to get, because we're dealing with a couple of folks in particular here. One who's extremely aggressive, who doesn't like humans. Let's just put that out there flat. And then we have another one who's trying hard to be as neutral and okay as possible, but still can't not block. So that's why where this is going.
The good cop, bad cop routine, you would call this. It is still a form of division. You will see these tactics grow in volume over the next months with certain routines. Even in private situations, you will see the good cop, bad cop routine. It is fine and more of an interrogative thing against a criminal, against the entropy, or in line with entropy of society. It is a detriment. So this is something that also cannot be allowed. This is why you are also allowed by spirit to see this, because this is also part of the entropic process.
So I ask you, Isaac, and I'm going to just flat out say, I'm not assuming it either. Can you speak in a neutral way to bring forth anything that they wanted to bring forth that you find the public would be interested in hearing?
Yes, very little of it, but yes. The rest I would consider rhetoric, but they can be, let's just say, butthurt. Ha ha, no pun intended. Yes, pun intended with that as well, since they cannot take a joke. But in this, I can bring forth that they would have also said that the good side of having Earth as part of the galactic community would be the trade aspects, would be the medical tech aspects, would be all of this. But you are correct. Even though there are treaties in place, there are ways of bringing this into the society. Your government would have wanted the fake alien invasion to actually then appease certain Galactic Federation rules, to where then that new technology would have had to have been a given to rebuild the world. That is out of play at the moment. The good sides of this is that Earth would have been part of this greater community. That's the rhetoric they would have tried to sell you. There is a small good aspect to this, but Earth can build that on our own to create that United Federation of Planets. Also, bringing forth the co-creative energies necessary to transform a galaxy. This is what's already currently happening. They know this tug of war is taking place out there with those energies. There are other groups out there that want Earth part of this, because Earth is very unique. It doesn't mean that Earth isn't a colony and you're not colonists from long ago. That's not irrelevant, but that's not necessarily part of what I'm trying to say. These other groups would literally sign a pact with Earth as part of like a United Federation planets, like in your Star Trek with Vulcan, Andoria, and Earth. It would be something very similar to that. That's how the Galactic Federation somewhat started, but then morphed into a fascism. It had a fascistic type of foundation. You do not want that. That's why you're seeing that in your societies now, where certain fascistic type ways of thinking are taking place. This is something you cannot allow. But the good aspects, or neutral aspects, they were trying to say was the rest of the system would open up to you. Everything would open up to you, but it would still be based on a lie, you see, in my opinion. because there would be certain histories that were muted. You would see galactic history light and secret space program light conversations, just like you wouldn't see any of the traumatic stuff. Just like it would be like if somebody tried to deny the existence of the Holocaust or something like that. Those are the conversations Earth as a whole would never hear if they had their way.
So that's important to know. And then I think, again, I do feel there's, again, wanting the savior, wanting these things to happen. It's what I call the devil in the detail. Well, how are people going to be treated? Well, how are things going to go down in here? And I do not believe that there is this really pretty outlook for the average, person here, because I do believe in what I say about the culling, about our, and all of these things that are going on. I am curious from your perspective, how you feel about that.
Yes, I actually am more appalled at a lot of these tactics, hence why I'm attempting to change things energetic from where my standpoint is, and viewing all these different groups' agendas. Yes, there are many, and there are good ones that have been around you and not so good ones, which you both know quite well, especially now. And there's also neutral ones that appear as if their agenda must be heard and their voices must be heard at all times, and where they're trying to take over the conversation. This is why they were attempting to elongate what he was saying, because I was also saying this as well, where they will try to elongate their speech as to why, as to how, and with whom. I can do the same thing, but I do it in a much more energetic way. This is why I tell him when he does his elongated recordings, yes, you are explaining every detail. It's a wonderful thing, but you must merge this with the back with the poetic side of what people would understand. This is something they don't have these guys don't have completely the capability of doing. Humans have the capability of saying it in a prose, saying it in an art form, saying it in whatever, laughter. And also the Cabal does their hollow comedy, tragedy, order, chaos routine with the theater puppets. Humans outside of this that aren't aligned with any of the galactic treaties and everything have a greater stance in this to change this than any of them do. Even some of the good people within the Cabal and also some of the other factions that are out there still have some of these treaties in play where they have to do certain things. You are not bound by those same rules. You can do all these break glass ceilings all you want. Just know that at times it comes with a bit of a bitch slap, like what happens with these guys, or what is happening with these guys. Just know that your voices are not being unheard by both those who are trying to get the voice to and those that are trying to gag you.
So the other conversation I want to go in again to help people understand a bigger picture is, again, the strategy of how this evolves. Over the years, you have heard this mentioned over and over again about try to be in creativity, find something with creative passion, try to do these things. So the conflict with that right now is, again, food, clothing, and shelter, and feeling safe, and turning you into a slave workforce, because then you don't have time for any of these things. It is within those moments of that creative passion, whatever it is, that you are at your freest to co-create what you want. So the question would become simply, do you want people to have hobby time? Do you want people to be able to have the resources, the time where creativity moves people forward with creative thought, with creative discoveries, with, again, music and with these different things? Or do you just want to be a workhorse 24/7 and then you're so exhausted that you don't do anything? There is an attempt to let that workhorse side be, so that this other does not evolve. It, again, that isn't, I hope, what people would want in a society. It is how you get out of it when you realize what's going on and you bring that creative side of yourself forward. Even taking time to immerse yourself reading a book or a tablet, now that a lot of people don't use books. even, you know, that simple time to do whatever, color in a coloring book. It doesn't matter as far as that. But I wanted you to speak about, again, in this entropic process, how that is even trying to be destroyed for people.
Yes. Think of the old movie, The Time Machine, for a moment, where he goes into the future and sees society has dropped into a slave entropic divide. Even think to the end of the old movie. Not saying the newer one, I'm saying the older one, where he comes back and only grabs a couple of books to re-educate that society. Here is the yield. You have the ability to alter things and make sure that more information is out, more things are happening. Why would you then try to rebuild and accept a rebooted society when you add to the one currently? There was the message right there. Oh, in acceptance, oh yeah, society fell into a war. That's how the old movie was, where well, there was a war, there were chemicals, all this other thing much later in a much later period, even from this one. So with that said, trying to get you to accept those timelines of events as watershed. No, watershed event would be you changing these things in a united front. I'm not saying any sort of thing like a pole shift or an event or mass ascension, mass awakening. The whole awakening thing is you coming to the realization of who you are. So, like what was said in past recordings, not accepting things always for how they are, but how you want them to be. Yes, going with the flow, surrendering to the flow. Absolutely agree. Where I don't agree is when that is inverted and artificial and making you accept ways about even what you are becoming. This is where you must plant your flag. Figuratively and literally, if necessary, if you have to create a construct to remind you of how not to slip into this, like how addicts do. They carry chips and coins with them as to how what is at stake if they slip up. This is what I'm talking about. Create this, put it in writing if you have to, put it in a construct if you have to, make a sculpture, statue, whatever the hell you want to do, monument, I don't care. Just know that you ground that into the earth, you ground yourself as your truest self, and none of these manipulations after a while will matter. They can either those beings can either accept that or they can go. This is what I'm trying to say. Also, true unification, not accepting the political rhetoric on either side. I'm saying both. So if somebody is trying to say, "Oh, these are the heroes, these are the villains," don't accept that either. That is part of that creepy narrative. Back off from that and see this puppet show for what it is. Don't get totally engrossed into going, "Oh, this person's changing this. Oh, this person's changing that." I recognize the fact that you have to see things as politics wherever you're going because that's how they've set that chessboard up. I'm saying you can throw that whole game board aside and completely reform it in your own image, in your own way of doing things. Now, I know people that are engrossed in the politics are trying to do that based on those narratives. Step back, try to see what all sides need in this, and especially yourself in this, and reform that. This is how that unity, global unity, true global unity is going to be born, and not the inverted hourglass effect that these people have by basically saying, this is how it's going to be reformed. You're just going to have to deal. No, it is you that tells them that.
So I think we're at a point where we're going to end this. Isaac, I was thinking it would be fun to be able to move over to the Galactic Interstellar Council platform for kind of an after show to again talk about, again, here we are on Earth, but what's actually going on out there in regards to the subject matter as well, to be able to continue the conversation. I'm hoping it's going to be possible that yourself and other benevolence would be able to come in and speak with us. So regarding the lifting show right now, any last words that you want to say regarding the subject matter?
Yes, it may be a bit of a shorter conversation than you would like, but given these these beings' propensity to butt in wherever it is that they step foot into at times, I am just stating, yes, I would be happy to do the same and have that conversation. There's already reinforcements here that you do not see from spirit and soul family. Either I or one of they will do this. But yes, this has actually been very, very interesting. I enjoy these types of conversations and the evolution in those conversations. Hence, why now you have both franchises. You see, the expansion of the conversation. Always wish to expand on the conversation, always wish to expand on a point outside of the rhetoric, outside of the narrative, no matter who has brought that here. These aliens are not gods, they never have been. These beings are not gods, this organization is not godlike, they never have been. There has always been some kind of agenda in play with somebody, somewhere, somehow. They are your equals, not your superiors. Remember this. They are not a master race like how your Nazis wish to be. They are not that. Any beings say that they are higher than you. I don't care what frequency they're in. I don't care what wavelength they're in. There's no such thing as higher and lower. Never has been. There's faster moving dimensions. There's where time moves differently. There's where physics moves differently. There's the multiverse. It is all inclusive, except that of agendas that do not match your own, that are not benevolent. You want benevolence with no conflicting agendas. You want true benevolence around you. The end. You are the I am presence for the moment. Remember this. And we'll start to get cold there. But yeah, it's getting pretty cold in this room. There's a lot of energy moving around. Even though it is cooler outside, there's like this energy cold forming in here, like almost like a frost.
It's kind of nice because it is getting rid of some of the pressure.
Oh yeah, the pressure is all but gone. It's opening up to a bigger conversation here. I've noticed that. Oh man, yeah, the Ebens have been shooed off. It looks like. From what I can see, their security forces are much further off that way. See, they live in the hills over here. Tufi and Treuben are much further into the country. And I met them when I met them in Nebraska. They're a different race of them, but they're still Zeta Reticuli. Just know that there's the security guys with the bigger heads. That's why we call them butthead. I try not to do that because there are good ones out there, and it tends to stir them up, and I don't want to do that at the moment. But Isaac obviously wanted to poke them a little bit. But this is where I will break this conversation off. We will continue elements of this in that conversation, but this is where we can close the circle for this one. And so if you want to
basically bless everyone again who has joined us here today. Really constantly in your heart, in everything that you have, wish for everyone's highest good and wish for benevolence to come in, sweep away overage, sweep away agendas that are conflicting to your own, or highlight them so that you can see them, so you yourself can make sure that your intentions are clear with what you want. So we wish everyone well. We hope you got a lot out of this conversation. And if you're coming around to join us on the Galactic Interstellar to continue this in the kind of an after show situation, we will see you in a few.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Okay, just saw something on the unexplained about buried treasure and how this guy found some Civil War gold. And then the FBI came in. You know, he was told he was never allowed to dig the gold up. The FBI had to do it. FBI came in, took it. The guy never saw a red cent. This is why you have to be. This show is about pirates as well, like Blackbeard and people finding buried treasure and everything. And this is, and also Marita, the villain so to speak, or a land pirate that inspired Zorro, which inspired Batman eventually. Just like John Henry inspired the superhero Steel, Marita inspired eventually Zorro and Batman. So fictional, but not so much. But this is why, I'm not condoning being a criminal. I'm just saying, if you find something like that, you don't tell anybody. You find a way to take it. Gold can be melted down, and you create your own bars out of it. And then you just sell it slowly for when you need the money. That's really the only way you're going to get away with that. You don't even get prestige for finding treasure anymore. So if you find it, don't report it. Just like there was this guy who found a Russian tank in Afghanistan that had gold bars, about 15 mil worth, between 10 and 15 mil worth, I should say, of gold. And it had markings on it, and his team wasn't allowed to keep it because the stupid moron reported it. And all he had to do was melt it down, and we should never even heard the story. He should have just done it totally in secret, gifted a bar to each of his crew members, because his crew members had to have wanted to kill him and wring his neck or snap his neck for it. They could have paid off all their bills and everything with it. And that would be that. That's why you have to act smart. The stories you don't hear out there are the more important ones. I mean, of course, the historical ones are wonderful, but you want those treasures found. Like Marita, I don't think he ever had a treasure because it sounds like he faked his own death, made it so that somebody else's head was in a museum or on a sideshow somewhere other than his, because that's how he supposedly died. That they cut his head off, same as Blackbeard, and they paraded around. Blackbeard's in the Peabody Museum in Salem right now. But Marita, I don't think he died. He just took his money and lived off of it and grew old. I think that's how Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid were as well. They just they made people think they were dead, and they went and died of old age. One of them was a past life of mine, was Butch Cassidy. So I have some criminals in my history like Gaspari, Butch Cassidy, those types of people. And I've always had that kind of longing to be on the other end of it. But in this lifetime, no, none of those resources came to me. Some people would say that's karmic. Oh, you were a couple pirates, you were an outlaw pirate, in the Old West or in the high seas, all the other stuff. I say, so what? I know that sounds strange coming from somebody who's supposed to be spiritual, but so what? It doesn't mean that in this lifetime I should have to accept poverty. I can see why people resort to this because even if you find treasure, it's taken. It's just like in the like if you find gold, just like in the show The Lost Gold of World War II in the Philippines. That was only one season. You want to know why? They found a gold stash. The Philippine government lead them to it because they didn't want to do any of the legwork or pay anybody. And they knew it was very difficult to get to. They knew when the crew found it, they knew where it was the whole time. They just couldn't get to it. They waited till the crew got to it, and there was a different person in season. Oh no, there was 2 seasons. Excuse me, 2 seasons. In season 2, there was even a different foreman on the team, or a different one of the different people. There was this disagreement between the head of the dig and the one that was really wanting to find this treasure, the one that was trying to honor his family and everything. There was a difference between them. And now they found the chamber where all the gold was. You don't see it anymore, just like one about the superstitions. Somebody found a chamber with a Jesuit cross in it. You didn't see another season past season 1. Gold was taken. All they were looking for was somebody to lead them to it. The thing of it is they have the ability to detect it, and they can grab it from underground, and they can confiscate it that way. But if it's an area where it would be slightly more public, just like in one of the neighboring towns, the name escapes me at the moment, dump truck after dump truck after dump truck of gold was taken out of this one area, not far from the superstitions. Many people think that was the Dutchman mine. But the Apache actually are in control of the Dutchman mine. It's been found. So either A, they would have put a halt to it, or B, the U.S. government would have taken the gold from the Apache, which wouldn't surprise me either. But anyhow, it's like in the game Fallout 76 when you find Vault 79, where it's a vault that's the pathways and the tracks and the bored tunnels to the vault are under this town. And the way you enter it is from a business. You go into this business, go underneath, and it leads to the train tracks underneath. There's even one of the characters makes mention, oh, this looks like an old underground train. That was the disclosure there for the train system underground that the cabal and the military and the corporations use. That interconnect all bases. Even though it's compartmentalized, there's still shifting walls and shifting apartments where you can get to these some hidden terrain areas and not public ones, but more official ones to them, not us, them. And in this vault, when you get all the way to the back, eventually it's a pain in the ass to get back there. But when you get back there, there are these agents, government agents, that have been there for 20 years. One of them's a ghoul, that survived the nuclear blast. Some of the characters in the game series are ghouls. They can tolerate all level of radiation, and they're virtually immortal. And there's some even in the other games that are 200 years later of people that were from our time. So, but anyway, you get all the way to the back, and they show you where the side entrance is to the vault, which you've seen in some of the Fallout videos I've talked about, where it's a shed that leads you back down to the back end. In that back end, it's full of gold. And you promise the head of this one village a few bars, and you give it to him, and he thanks you for it. But the government people want you to find all gold out there to try to bring it to them. And they'll give you weapons, they'll let you buy anything with it. But they just don't want you to have the gold. And one of them, this is a major storage that was bigger than Fort Knox, they make the comment. This was a hidden stash, so it was just right below people's feet. That it was a misdirection, that Fort Knox was actually a misdirection, where everybody aims at that, but it's just underneath the town. And Fort Knox is connected to the network of bases too, and I believe alien stuff is there versus gold. That wouldn't be the first place I would look. I would just scan for it, and people can actually see gold. There's gold deposits because the plants are more luminescent. It's never this distracting busy here, folks, with the noise, just so you know at this time of night. I can actually see the energy fields of gold where the plants are luminescent and there's like this purpley blue haze over an area. That's how you can tell there's a gold vein there. If you're sensitive enough to it, the government looks for people like that. That's probably one of the reasons I get harassed, other than the psychic ability and the genes and all this other stuff. But the one agent you encounter goes, well, back in the day, we used to just confiscate it. We didn't let anybody own it. And truer words have never been spoken. They do that. Why do you think you see those commercials all the time? Or you used to, really late at night, where years ago, where they would go, oh, sell your gold today. My mother did that, and we got money, but it's not like how gold is worth today. Because at the time we were poor and needed money for bills, and they knew people were poor. But who they trade it to? The aliens. And it's just like in the days of old where the Anunnaki wanted gold. Granted, it was monatomic gold, farming it out of the bodies of people and basically the harvesting of soul shards, essentially. But it's also actual gold for the technology. And per the legend, it was Nibiru in its atmosphere, but it's traded to a multitude of races now. It's how cultures used to acquire and give to the gods. It's the same practice that goes on today, folks. Just like with the Satanists, they sacrifice people in the name of Lucifer, and to the reptilians, it's the same with the gold. It's a veneration to the gods or the ETs. So that's how it goes. And so if you have a large amount of it, you don't get to keep it long. Just like with the paranormal community, you come up with any real evidence outside of the ghost circles. If you try to put all the dots together with aliens, artificial intelligence, ghosts, elementals, and try to build a glossary, it's any evidence you have is confiscated. That's why I always tell paranormal investigators, they got to get with it and go outside the ghost circles, but they're always going in ghost circles. And it's something that's never looked at. If you're basically telling tales, the government doesn't look at you. That's why when I talk about things in legends and stuff like that, I'm putting the actual information in there. They don't really care. The government doesn't care if I do it that way. It doesn't care if you find legends and say, oh, this is an alien, this is this type of entity, this is type of entity. They don't care there. But if you have actual recorded evidence using the scientific method, watch out. And also, if you're psychic on top of that and can couple the scientific method with what you do, watch out. They usually come after you at that point. If you can prove it. I welcome proving it. You know, but at the same time, I don't always find it necessary. But at the same time, I like doing it. Not just to get under their goat, but it's necessary. So, I mean, don't always make proving it your quest. Just make sure you have psychic and scientific all together, and don't just expect the psychic to be quiet. I know I've said that before. Don't always be on the quest to prove it to the scientific community that already knows about it and has a glossary. They don't care. And it's when they do care, it's when you should care. The same with the gold. If you find any treasure, keep it. But make sure somewhere you record the history of where you got it from before you die. So when you do die, somebody knows the history, and it's on one of those unexplained shows one of these days, at least, so people know where the treasure's been found. The same thing with non-irradiated metal. That's from battleships from before, like the Monitor and all those types of vessels, before the atmosphere was irradiated. That's non-irradiated metal, and if you melt that down, you can make instruments that are more accurate. Like Geiger counters, like medical instruments, like all of it. And it's highly prized, non-irradiated iron and steel that's been trapped underwater. The water protected it. Even though radiation can go through water quite efficiently, not at the depths that these were. Just like in Saints Row 3, when the zombie virus takes over part of the town, Burt Reynolds tells you to put the containers with the virus under the water. The water would get rid of it and nullify it. Same thing. I know it's a bad example, but you get what I'm saying. But yeah. But the salvagers don't care about the history. They just want the metal. You got to care about both. You know, they always say, oh, people shouldn't do that. Well, what do you expect with people being poor right now? What do you expect? So, I can't exactly blame the salvagers, but at least tell the history. At least tell what you found. Don't just be the pirate. Be the pirate and the historian and the archivist, please. You know, if you're going to take the metal, I don't blame you. But at least leave a piece for a museum somewhere, if you could. So I'll just leave it here. But this is what we found so far. Saw so far. It is 10:03 p.m. or 10:04 p.m. going into 10:04 p.m. Arizona Standard Time, Friday, November 4th, 2022. Thank you. Okay, an interesting situation has surfaced that confirms years worth of years and years worth of torment and years worth of targeting. It does this particular area. I explained to the client, of course, there's military targeting, there's magical targeting, there's AI targeting, all of those things. However, this particular situation, actually, and I'm looking for the title to the show we just did that this applies to, even though this is, the show title was The Planned Entropy of Civilization that we did. And also the after show that went with this, so the GIC after show that went with this. Yes, we are fusing these things. It's just making life easier for us. Of course, GIC is a branding that will always remain. The lifting is a branding that will always remain. But in this particular scenario, this person was near a cluster of military. They were keeping this person in check to make sure that they weren't opening up, that they were sufficiently distracted with aliens, with their military stuff, with magic, all this other stuff, so they didn't discover what was going on. But in their infinite stupidity, people wake up because of those things. They just aren't getting that they're part of this equation themselves. However, how this applies to this current the situations that we have been speaking about, both the lifting and GIC. Whereas we have a businessman friend of ours who earlier in life was Masonic cult attempted to coax the person into signing a Faustian contract, saying, "Oh, your business will get so much easier. Your life will be so easy, and if you just let us take a photograph of you doing something humiliating." And Cabal operates this way; it's blackmail. So if people go too far, they publish it, and their life's ruined. That is, if you don't care about your image, then it makes it harder on them. If you don't care about what other people think, it makes it a lot harder on them. In our travels, of course, we were SSP. Of course, we don't subscribe to them. Their Faustian pact. We break glass ceilings, and we've had to bite and scratch our way to the top. This person's situation, there was a spot in Washington State that we were before, that the people we stayed with were in complete awe of the jinn and their capabilities to bring money in for them. Massive amount of money in for them. And it was like rolling like water. Like it just kept flowing. Whenever I would get rid of the jinn or any demonic entities, these people kept inviting in. They said we were quote unquote destroying their business. It's like, you shouldn't be doing business with jinn and demons. You don't understand how hard it's been. We had to resort to this. You're destroying our livelihoods. You basically seeing us as evil towards them, and you had to go. And of course, the forest people at the time helped us out of that situation, just like they did with how Kiosa said, we agree with the outcome, meaning I was away from certain sources on live radio, things in the background that I was not seeing. Like I said in previous episodes. It got to such an extent with that. Of course, we were there for a few weeks and we were booted out of there, angrily booted out of there. Because the business person that was in a different state, I believe in the state of Florida, was bringing in gin constantly. And thinking, oh, they're so wonderful. No, they're not. But they were victims of this. Doesn't matter. They're bullies. The head comes off. And they try to basically pluck your fate threads, as it were, or abundance threads, to where you either get more of or less of. It's like that episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine where that criminal, that Illyrian criminal, takes this metal sphere from this homeless person that was on Deep Space Nine, and notices that if the person wins, they get a lot of good luck. If they lose, they have a life of shit. And he made these larger versions of it, which affected the whole station. The bigger he made them, he made a casino out of it. And he noticed that when people lost, he won out. And like he was feeding off of those luck threads. And they found out that that these were threads that would either determine something in your life one way or the other. And somebody said, well, we make our own luck. But then they also proved an energetic aspect of. They were basically just saying how the jinn operate. And that's how these devices operate. And they were spheres, essentially artificial intelligence. Like, essentially, it's either goes this way or this way. And that was the point that the S9 episode was making. And essentially, like, that guy who was running it was more like Cabal or Satanic. It was the actor that played Humperdinck in Princess Bride, if you guys want to look that up sometime. Beautiful example. This spot in Washington also, what made perfect sense to me was in the surrounding areas. There is an Indian reservation there. I'm not going to tell you the exact location because I don't want people going and looking, because we talked about it. Just know it is there. And sorry, I was out burning notebooks a little bit ago and my nose is running here. And I got a headache and energy ache from doing that and this particular session. This person's child went to this reservation, quote unquote. It was not. It was a satanic Luciferian compound. And they were conjuring all this stuff, and basically some of the local business people were embroiled in this cult. They tried to disguise it as a Native American Indian reservation. It's not. And anybody that went against this, their businesses suffered. And that's what we were doing to these other two people. This is why they were angry. Not that I condone what they were doing. We had to do it that way because we had to put wards up everything, because these jinn were constantly showing up, and it was basically upsetting the forest people. They wanted us away from this because it was a danger zone, and it was a much larger danger zone that I actually comprehended until the day I'm recording this. We were right in the center of it, and we had to see what these people were like. We had to see it. And just like with certain aspects of our life with live radio, we had to see some of the behind the scenes. And I can't go any further into that because it'll get too much attention. I am just stating, for the record, that this one aspect in Washington State was very bogged down with this. And if you weren't part of the big boy club, let's just say, or good old boys club in this, your business is tanked big time. No different than another friend of ours. It's the same type of situation, but the same group of assholes, even if it is a compartmentalized sect. Same thing. And they made it look like a Native American Indian reservation, and there were people of all shapes, sizes, and colors going there, and it was just a cult. It was Luciferian satanic cult. And before anybody complains, yes, I know there's two different kinds. There's the good and the bad. They're the ones that are just heavily against the church, Satan, the opposing the church, and then there's these Luciferian dipshits that sacrifice people and goats and all this other stuff. I know the difference. I don't want any hate mail from what I just said. And there's also Wiccan and witch and white witch and dark witch and all that. I get it. I'm pagan myself. I get it. So, good pagan, that is. There's certain lines I won't cross. I noticed this person in the session had some karma dumping from that place. Aside from the governmental military targeting, aside from all of this, you had these cultist assholes doing this as well. And I didn't realize we were in such a danger zone. I did not realize this also with current chains of events, that we were in a danger zone with radio stuff and everything. That's all the further I'm going to carry that conversation. Just know I hinted at it in other recordings. You guys can put the pieces together. And I'm being told, shut up. Isaac's telling me, shut up. So with that, I can honestly say this was the exact same thing, and I didn't realize what a big danger zone we were in. The forest people at the time decided that with the trailer we were staying in, they were going to not only make this guy's septic system explode on the property or implode, but destroy the trailer's toilet as well. What they were trying to tell us is this was shit. This person was a shyster. He was a used car salesman, and he was not meaning what he was saying. He was literally the antithesis of what they were wanting out of this. They said they would take care of this, but they're part of that war too. I was wondering why they just didn't smother that business and be done with it. It wasn't that simple, because this was all this cultist stuff that they're trying to stay away from, but at the same time fight. They're like us. Would you in your house be able to take on a satanic cult? No. And the forest people are up against these things. Even though they are much more advanced, they're no different than us. They may be tapping into abilities we've forgotten how to use as humanity, as humans, as mankind. But there it is. So they're related to us. There are bigger brother cousins, essentially, and sisters. So, yeah. They were trying to warn us, but they couldn't say it at the time. They're hoping we would figure it out. They helped collapse that situation. Yes, I have the Sasquatch here in the background to kind of commemorate that. But yeah, I even had to talk to the forest people today. There was a fake one on the person's property, layer after layer of cultist stuff, government, aliens, and even a fake Sasquatch that even I myself fell for back in 2017. I've learned so much since 2017, since we started the lifting, and since Galactic Interstellar Council started. I've learned so much from this. There's been so many forks and pennies in a light socket, you don't even know. So if people think that I've backed out of certain practices, you're right. I don't delve into bases anymore. I did backfire that karma dumping back on that satanic compound because it was hurting this individual person and had the potential to also blow back on us. So what I did was I basically mirrored it back to the people it belonged to begin with. So that's how karma dumping is. They displace off of them, dump it on someone else. That person has to play through that group's garbage, and their life goes in tanks, goes down the toilet, while they take on the good energies. And they do it to multiple people. It's like a spider web of shit. And basically, it's one of those said the spider to the fly moments where they lure your energy into this. If you refuse, they find a way to link you into that anyway. So consenting, non-consenting only goes so far. They find a way to do it anyhow because they're evil. Why would they obey the consent rules? This is a misnomer. There's some things they need it for. There's most things, again, they don't. Just remember that there's no real complete universal law governing over this. Remember, source creator is neutral. You are also source creator. You determine what you're entangled in because you're overall source. And your oversoul and you as an avatar are being mantled into the earthly plane. You have supreme control over your situation. Yes, is spirit guiding you? Yes, is benevolence guiding you? Absolutely so. Is benevolent source creator guiding you? Absolutely so. But there's all this other crap in play too. So I just wanted to state these things to the record because these are things that would make these things tank and cause the planned entropy of civilization or a component in there. And in other recordings where I mentioned the entropy of some of these businesses and such. This is one of those things that's causing it, folks. Keep your eyes open. You're going to see local areas where businesses are tanking. Don't allow this. Don't allow the inflation. Don't allow the system to implode and reform in someone else's image. You get to decide this. You are the ultimate decider. Do not ask people's permission. Do not ask these officials permission. Oh, please, can I do this? It's not a please. It's a now. It is a right now. I am doing this. Not, may I please, sir, have another. No. Not, thy will be done. No. Difference between surrendering to the actual flow and giving in and consenting to these cults. You see, I've already got the gag reflex kicking in. You must be sovereign in this. You can't just give in. And if you're a business, I'm sorry to say, if you're participating in this inflation, what is going on right now, please stop it. I know the price of things have gone up. I know. And yes, increase it a little bit. But if you take it past a certain threshold, the people that need these things can't get it. And I realize you're being capitalist. I understand. But if you go past a certain point, you're not getting your money either. And you're participating in what these evil fucks want you to participate in. Remember this when you see certain things. You might take a little bit of a hit, but you're going to get that back in the long run. You're going to get it back. Businesses en masse, you must say no to this. You cannot just give in and do what they tell you. It was just like in 2020 when people just bowed. I know people have learned from this. I'm trying not to be judgmental. I am just stating, take what you've learned and expand it. Do not participate in this false, oh, there's a shortage here or there's inflation here. I know you have to increase prices just a little bit. Don't go so overboard you're doubling and tripling and quadrupling everything to where people can't afford what you're offering, especially if it's needed in society. Don't do it. Don't do what the oil companies did with the gas prices. You see it. You don't need, there's no such thing as a gas shortage. They can create it, they can clone it, like you heard me say in other videos. So now, why in the holy hell would they need to ever do that? They're doing it to control. They're doing it to cull and weed out people and be part of the entropy of civilization. Don't be caught into that massive web of entropy. Don't allow it. Do not allow it. You take a stand on things like this. and do whatever it takes to stop this. And I am not saying in a violent way. I'm saying you as a person can take a stance and say no by even not increasing your prices on things. And I know some of you are going to say, well, we have to. No, you do not. We found a way around this by doing it just a little. And it goes a long way towards the long run. And we are making it so people can afford what we offer, because it is needed to stop this entropy. So you must do things this way. Even if you slow drip certain things, like you go to a fair or you own a store. I know they're increasing rent, but just offer a few more choices in your store to make up that nut for the season. Don't give in. Even if others around you are complaining, oh, you have to do this. We had people at the fairs in the beginning say, not just a few, not everybody. I'm not dumping on everybody. We had them say, you must increase your prices. You know, you're basically taking away business from the rest of us. You may get that spiel from people. Don't give in. You need to not to participate, and you will be the last man standing at the end of the day. You will be the one rising from the ashes at the end of the day if you don't participate in this. Just trust in that. I'm going to leave it here, but just know, please trust in that process. There is a science to this. There is a spiritual flow to this. You can merge finances and spirit, but you cannot participate in this system to do it. No matter who around you seems more successful, you must hold the line. So I'll leave it here. It is 12:02 p.m. Arizona Standard Time, Monday, November 7th, 2022. Thank you.